I'd like to call the Region 15 Board of Education meeting to order. Will you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to wish everybody a Happy New Year and hope everybody's somewhat well, or better than I'm feeling. Student representatives.
All right, so it's been a long time since we've seen each other, so we have a lot to catch up on. So I'd like to start with one of the things that happened before winter vacation. So Link Crew hosted a holiday sweater making contest before vacation, and they used a sweater making workshop, and the Link Crew members, along with students with disabilities, created sweaters for many of the PHS faculty. And then the staff wore their Christmas sweaters one day before break, and students during their lunch waves were able to vote for the best Christmas sweater. And so Mrs. Kennedy won first place for that, so congratulations to her. And the whole point of this was to raise money for the Victoria Soto Scholarship Memorial Fund. And so Link Crew was able to raise a total of $635 for that fund. So it was a really great thing to do. After winter vacation, PHS itself hosted the Poetry Out Loud competition, which was on Wednesday, January 7th in the Media Center. And this competition is a national poetry recitation contest for students in grades 9 through 12. And so the students were judged on their delivery of their 2 poems they had to read. And the school champion is moving on to a regional competition, so it's a kind of a big deal. And midterms, as you all know, will begin on Wednesday, January 21st and end on Monday, January 26th. And review days will be this Thursday and Friday. And so along with midterms, we have a lot of nervous freshmen and underclassmen because they don't know what they're getting themselves into. And so a lot of honor societies and other clubs and organizations have been trying to help with that. So one such organization is the Science National Honor Society, which has hosted Science and Snacks, which is a study session where students can come and get help with chemistry, physical science, biology, or physics by AP and honors students in the Science National Honor Society. And we held one on Thursday, December 18th, and one on Thursday, January 8th, and we have one coming up this Friday, January 16th, which was rescheduled due to the midterms being moved. And so we had over 50 students come to the January 8th session. So it was a lot of students who were interested in getting help with science, so we felt that it was a great opportunity, and this we just started this year, so we think we're going to continue this in the future. And so along with futures, while we're talking about that, many students have been applying to various colleges and universities, and so many have already heard back from many prestigious universities. So we have Sophie Kazakowski, who will be attending Barnard College, which is affiliated with Columbia University. Sean Dolan will be attending Cornell University. Vinitha Ranganini will be attending Carnegie Mellon University. And there are many more students who have gotten into many prestigious colleges and many more who are still applying and hearing back. So we have a lot of people to be proud of this year.
Hello, everyone. So before the break, we did have a couple of different concerts and music events at the school. On December 12th, we had a symphonic band, chorale, and orchestra concert. A week later, on December 19th, we had the chamber singers, chamber orchestra, and jazz ensemble. We also had, this past Thursday, January 8th, the winter concert for the choir and band. And then last Saturday, January 10th, 20 students participated in the CMEAs, which is a regional music festival. Also, the Tri-M Music Society went around caroling to different nursing homes to just bring joy and spread the holiday feeling of being together with the ones that you love. So for sports, we have the varsity men's basketball season started last month, and they have a game against Immaculate High School tonight at 7 o'clock in the main gym. The girls have an away game at Immaculate High School also at 7 o'clock, and they have a record of 7 wins and 1 loss. So that's very good. So hopefully we can do an 8-1 record. Their last win was against Bethel on January 6th with a score of 43-37. So very close game, but another win for Pomperaug. The boys swimming and diving meet against Bunnell was tonight at 6 o'clock, and that was an away meet. The girls' swimming season will start in the fall, or was in the fall. Tomorrow, the varsity men's and women's indoor track team have a developmental meet at the Danbury Sports Arena, and that is at 6 o'clock. So hopefully we do well there. Both boys and girls track have been doing very well so far, even though it's very cold outside.
Any questions of the students? Okay, there being none, you're free to stay or free to go or go to the basketball game. Have a good night. Or study for midterms, as the superintendent recommended. Okay, under presentations, the NESAC report.
As a holdover from the last board meeting, Mr. Longarini will be presenting to us the NEASC report. NEASC is the Northeast Association of Schools and Colleges. It is our accreditation organization that was completed at the high school recently. So Mr. Longarini will give us that report. After that report, he will give us an annual report. This is an annual event. Every year we report on indicators of student achievement, and that will be his second report, and he will go straight into that. So I welcome you. Thank you, Mr. Longarini, for coming.
Madam Chair, Superintendent Botsford, thank you very much for the opportunity to present to you this evening. I would also like to introduce to you Kelly Pelletier, who is a library media specialist with us, who will be joining me for the NEASC presentation. Ms. Pelletier, as well as Mr. Murphy, Mike Murphy, were the co-chairs of the NEASC committee. Mr. Murphy, due to the rescheduled basketball game, is serving as the scorekeeper there tonight, so he was not able to join us for the presentation. Our presentation this evening will take you through just a little bit of what again, the process was and what the results were. Our NEASC review as it came back, we're very excited that once again we were reaccredited by the Committee on Public Secondary Schools. They revisited us from October 19th to October 20th of 2014. This was our 10-year evaluation report and review. With their visit, they did vote unanimously to award the school continued accreditation in the New England Association of Schools and Colleges. Our process for taking us through through NEASC, this began in 2012 to 2014. At that time, PHS engaged in their self-study. There are 7 standard areas that we're focused on. In April 6th through the 9th, the evaluation visit, PHS hosted the evaluation visit from the NEASC team. On December 3rd, we received the notification of our continued accreditation along with the commissioner's commendations and recommendations. And then for the next 2015 to 2019, for the next 5 years, we will engage in a follow-up process to implement recommendations and 2-year and 5-year progress reports, which we'll review with the NEASC committee. In about a week or so, we will be meeting with Janet Allison from the New England, from NEASC, who will also be looking at the recommendations that we have and helping us formulate which of those we will be executing in 2 years and which of those we will be updating fully in 5 years. Okay. This time, I'd like to introduce Mrs. Pelletier, who will take you through the next part of the presentation.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to highlight some of the commendations that NEASC provided in their closing report. And this first slide reviews the commendations in the areas of core values and curriculum. The collaborative process used to develop the school's core values, beliefs, and learning expectations. The implementation of new courses and programs that reflect our school's core values. the consistent use of core values and beliefs in the decision-making process, the resource center that encourages teacher collaboration to promote curricular alignment, the investment in district-wide curriculum design using Lynn Erickson's concept-based curriculum philosophy, the curricula which emphasize inquiry, problem-solving, and higher-order thinking, and the authentic and cross-curricular learning opportunities in the digital academy. Now we'll move on to our commendations in the next two areas, which are instruction and assessment. Commended were the availability of teachers for student support and extra help, the variety of instructional practices aligned to our school's core values, our peer walkthroughs that provide teachers with the opportunity to observe, reflect on, and share instructional practices, our variety of instructional practices that are used in classrooms, the time provided to teachers during PLCs for collaboration, the wide variety of summative and formative assessments used by all teachers, the clarity of our expectations communicated prior to units of study, and our timely and specific feedback to students. We had quite a few commendations in standard number 5, which is school culture and leadership. Among them are the safe, positive, respectful, and supportive culture that fosters student responsibility and high expectations for all, the instructional leadership of the principal in collaboration with other building administrators, the range and variety of co-curricular activities supporting learning needs of our students, the commitment to student equity and access, including the enrollment of students in 2 heterogeneously grouped core courses over their high school experience, the positive impact of our passport system, the implementation of our student advisory program, teachers' leadership that increases student engagement and learning, the focus of our teacher supervision and evaluation process on instructional practices and improved student learning, the strong sense of student pride in the school among students, professional and support staff members, and parents, and lastly, the effective collaboration between the superintendent, the Board of Education, and the principal. And this rounds out our commendations in standards 6 and 7, which are school resources for learning and community resources for learning. And they include the range and variety of support services we provide, the involvement of library media services personnel in curriculum design and instruction, the 24-hour access to the media center, establishment of the freshman academy, provision of a daily late bus, the number of electronic methods of parent outreach programs and services, the numerous parent, business, community, and collegiate partnerships, the custodial staffing and electronic system for submitting maintenance requests, recent renovations to science labs, a clean, well-maintained facility, the quality and thoroughness of our school's self-study, prepared by our professional staff in collaboration with representatives from all other school constituencies. So that rounds out our commendations, which we are very proud of. And now we'll move into the recommendations that NEASC provided us with. This first list of recommendations takes us through the first 4 standard areas, which are core values, curriculum, instruction, and assessment. NEASC recommended that we review the school-wide rubrics to ensure that they are analytical and identify targeted high levels of achievement. Construct a curriculum template using a common format that continues to include the elements of a concept-based design, the school's 21st century learning expectations for each course, instructional strategies, and assessment practices that include use of school-wide analytic rubrics. Assess the time available for each department chair to coordinate and monitor the written and taught curriculum. Evaluate the current use of PLCs to ensure that time is allocated for the review of effective instructional practices. Examine the ways in which student assessment data can be made readily available to teachers for use in modifying instruction. Provide training and time for staff to understand and consistently use the school-wide rubrics using clearly stated criteria, and develop a process to collect, review, and communicate school and student and school-wide progress on the achievement of our school's learning expectations. And closing out the recommendations in the areas of school culture leadership, school resources, and community resources, these are the last of the recommendations. Provide the opportunity for all members of the school community to be more involved in the decision-making process. Review and reorganize responsibilities of the counseling staff to ensure that all students are seen on a regular basis and on an as-needed basis. Design a comprehensive counseling curriculum for grades 9 through 12. Develop formal long-range plans to address future programs, enrollment changes, staffing, facility needs, and capital improvements with input from key stakeholders. And last but not least, increase funding for technology equipment to support the school's 21st century learning expectations and core values. And with that, I'll let Mr. Longarini review our school's 2- and 5-year plans on how we are going to address the recommendations.
As we began this year, one of the primary goals that we had with professional development at the onset was to look at our school-wide rubrics. And this was an area that we saw consistently in the recommendations in a variety of areas for us to make more user-friendly, not only for teachers, but the language more user-friendly for staff. It is an important element that speaks to what our school-wide learning expectations are, that can communicate how we are progressing towards our skill mastery in a variety of content areas and also across curricular areas. So we did begin this year with taking a look at those school-wide rubrics and finding ways that we can tweak them to fit more readily into our content areas and into the instruction that we're given to make them more meaningful, and also use them to provide us opportunities to set goals with students on where we would like to see them progress, not only long-term but also in short-term periods as well. And that process is underway, and most of our teachers have worked to align at least a portion of their goals this year to those school-wide rubrics as well. That is helping us to ensure that we have implementation of that throughout the year in a variety of different units in the content areas. We are also in the process of looking at and identifying valid and reliable student, staff, and parent surveys. As we went through NEAS, the Endicott studies were used and surveys were used to collect meaningful information for us, but we're also looking at ways similar to our other schools that we can continue that process, not just through things like the Endicott study, but on our own as well, that we can get reliable data that can continue to drive that decision-making process. Through PTO meetings, we're utilizing that as a venue that we can include parents with input and discussions that are pertaining to school climate, culture, and decision-making. So when we look at recommendations of how to include stakeholders more readily into that process, we have begun that with our PTO meetings, where there's a portion of those meetings where I will speak to certain aspects of things that are going on in the school, and we will talk about ways that we could provide meaningful experiences and help in the decision-making process. A recent example of that is the Awareness Week that we held in November, in which parents were able to discuss with us and share their input as well, which brought together a very positive and very impactful week for kids. Programs, including local outside organizations, are being implemented as well to engage the full Region 15 community. We have spoken with representatives from SMART. We've spoken with both police departments. Both of our towns' selectmen offices have been very supportive and integral in the efforts that we're making. In addition to that, we've reached out to local action councils that have come up and met with us and also shared with us resources that are available for us to continue the work that we're looking to improve upon. Our district committees are in process of identifying 21st century learning expectations and professional development opportunities, the installation of additional technology as we progress forward. Mrs. Lyman is heading those committees, and there is representation across the board of our board members as well as teachers from the various grade levels. And also discussions of increasing technology integration into learning experiences are ongoing. And at our upcoming professional development day that we will have on Tuesday, this will be a place that we will focus on ways that we can look at what the skill level is of each teacher and provide opportunities differentiated out to them to help advance their knowledge and integration of technology into providing access of curriculum to students. So it'll take the frame of a different look depending on what your skill level is. Some of it will be somewhat introductory, but some of it will also be quite advanced in terms of using Google Classrooms, grading assignments online, creating videos, and including integration to really look at the format and way that we can engage students in the learning process through technology. I think one of the other elements as we look at what we have done with that so far, that's important to stress when we take a look at the recommendations that we have. We also think of it from a standpoint of doing it in a way that is as efficient and responsible in terms of spending as we can as well. And all of the things that we look at and the recommendations that we have and what we've done to date with our professional development has been at no additional cost. These are things that we're using experts and we're using people within our school that have the ability to present and are doing exceptional things to bring that out and share that with their colleagues. Our presentations and professional development on Tuesday is being done completely by in-house staff who have developed expertise in certain areas. So while we understand and we look at and see some of the recommendations that come forward in terms of technology, we're also looking to see at ways that we can do that in the most effective and efficient and meaningful way possible while working with what we have at this time, understanding that what we add to this in the future will be extremely beneficial because our teachers will be prepared to do so. Okay. In conclusion, the school's accreditation status will be reviewed when the committee considers our 2-year and 5-year report. At those times, they will again continue to inform us that where our accreditation status stands. And right now, we are again continuing with our accreditation and very proud of that. It's a tremendous amount of work that was done by the PHF staff, especially our co-chairs, Mr. Murphy, Ms. Pelletier, did an amazing job, an incredible amount of work in what they put into the coordination of this as well as the development of the presentation that you see tonight. So I would really like to extend a great gratitude and appreciation to all the members of the PHF staff community, central office, and all the support that was given in a very extensive process that turned out to be very rewarding for us and very favorable in our review. Thank you.
Are there any questions from board members? Okay, we'll start at this end. Marion?
First, I'd like to say thank you for the presentation and congratulations on doing such a nice job on this report. I did read the report, and it is extensive. I'm curious. It seemed to come down very hard on technology and how the high school needs more technology and more funding for it. And I'm curious, and you listed that obviously in the recommendations. Is there any recommendation here that you think is more weighty than others, like that was like that was a very strong recommendation versus a more periphery one?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's part of the process of developing that 2-year and that 5-year plan that will take place with Mrs. Allison when we meet in a week with her from NEAS. But when we look through what we have now, I do think that the most pressing that we saw in there and what you see the most consistently was the rubrics. You saw that recommendation come across in multiple standard areas. The technology piece is something that was also prevalent, but not quite as much as is that idea of being able to use the rubrics in a meaningful manner, to make them analytical in nature, and something that we can use consistently to drive instruction, and then find the ways to report on that. Technology is going to come into play and be integral with us because having the same technology in rooms, or at least equitable technology in rooms, where regardless of what classroom we go into, having those projectors there and having the ability to plug in versus in one room plug it in and one room not plugging in. Having that continuity and that consistency, I think, will help us improve instruction. I think it would help move teachers to designing lessons that involve technology integration, to access to curriculum more readily for students as well. If teachers are in a position that half of their day is in a room that has it and a half a day that doesn't, then you're going to design really for the half that doesn't, because you can't replicate that experience if you don't have the technology that's there. That being said, the effort that has been made through the budget process and the projectors that we are installing this year and will install next year are a huge step forward in what we're looking at there. And then other things that I know are Mrs. Botsford and Ms. Lyman and Mr. Vicolivi are looking at as well in the future, I think will lend very, very nicely to addressing the issues that we have.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, there
Oh, I
being-
do.
I'm
Sorry. That's okay. I'm getting all my papers in order here. Thank you, Mr. Longarini. I too read through the report, but I think my comments tonight, I'm just going to talk about, at least right now, Standard 7. While they're all important in their own right, I thought Standard 4, which was the assessment of and for student learning, was really important because it really, and this is a quote from the report, it informs students and stakeholders of progress and growth. And, you know, for me as a board member, I'm always interested in the progress and the growth in terms of the learning environment for our students. I thought the recommendations in that point, in that part in particular, I just wanted to mention that there's a formal process and that there's this collaborative energy between faculty and administration that benefits the students. I thought the number of assessment instruments being used to assess student progress was impressive, and they went on to name them all. I'm sure you all know them. And I also like that there was this constant loop involving all the stakeholders. So it's students and parents and faculties and administration and board, because that's really how we generate and nurture a community of learning, and that's in our strategic plan. So I always like to see that these NEASC reports somehow come back to our strategic plan. And then the last thing was that there was also enough flexibility in the region's assessment processes that we're allowing different departments to utilize varying strategies, because that gives each individual teacher some flexibility in both formative and their substantive assessment. So my comments tonight just focused on Standard 4, just because I think we're in an environment of assessing, and we all want to make sure as parents, as educators, as stakeholders, as selectmen, whatever, that we're doing what we think we're doing, and that's really what fidelity measures. Just getting back to, I think, Mary, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but we just got out of a meeting where we were looking at the technology and moving forward, and I think while certainly rubrics, that is mentioned throughout, so is the technology piece, and that's an important part coming up. So just kind of throwing it out there. So,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, and absolutely it is. Our kids are engaged in technology much earlier than any of our generations were, and but when we look at how we use that, we also need to keep in mind that we're prepared to use it as well. So the thoughts and the processes that I see, again, and even just kind of walking into the district now, so, still in the first year and seeing where we are. There is a very thoughtful process taking place to make sure that we have an infrastructure and ability of our teachers to use it the right way. So it's not just about putting a piece of technology in a kid's hand, but it's about being able to use it and ethically teach them how to do it properly. And I do see a strong commitment in the district as well as at the high school, and will continue to do so.
Yeah. We had an interesting workshop with the Finance Subcommittee, which I thought was a very informative piece on where the district stands right now and where we need to go forward. So
Right.
thank you for the report.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll move on to the next phase of your report.
Okay, and transitioning from the questions on assessment and data, we go into a data and assessment report. So that's well done, Sharon, well done. Nice segue. This portion is the high school performance data report. Through this, we will take you through some of the standardized testing that we are conducting, as well as a look at some of the in-house assessments that we do and surveys that we run to track student success and our information. We're going to begin this evening with looking at our SAT scores. SATs now are broken out into critical reading, into math, and into writing. As you see from the presentation that's ahead of you, I think the printouts are in black and white, but up on the screen is in color, if that might be a little bit easier for you to differentiate between the different categories are there. But we're comparing our SAT critical reading average from PHS to DIRG B, which is the schools that are most closely associated to us from a socioeconomic standpoint, as well as the average for the state of Connecticut. We've remained fairly consistent with our critical reading scores over the past 4 years. With this year, our critical reading score coming in at a 536. The data that you see being presented to you here is taken from the College Board reports. Our College Board reports give to us the final seating score that our students take. So it's not the average of the highest score that our students have. It's the average of the final sitting that our students take. Okay, and so we're looking at an average score of 536 in critical reading, again remaining fairly consistent over the course of time in that. In SAT writing, again we show some consistencies, a slight decrease from previous years with the 2014 scores. But there was also a slight decrease, as you can see, from a DIRG level as well as in Connecticut, and also nationally there was a slight decrease in those writing scores as well. Okay, but again, looking at 535 as our 2014 average, and fairly consistent with the scores in the low 540s that we had in previous years. In the area of math, this proved to be our strongest area in terms of SAT testing. In this area, with an average score of 561, we have outperformed the DIRG, and we have outperformed the state. It was a fairly significant move from 546 the previous year to that 561, which was again something that Mrs. Szymanski and the math group certainly did a lot of work on. I'm very proud to have that result. Switching from SATs and looking at our AP results, again, this is our highest level of courses here at the high school with our AP and ECE classes. Students have the ability to earn college credit. For most colleges and universities, they look at a score of 3 or higher to take that credit. So the report that we are showing you are the percent of AP exam takers that we have that score of 3 or higher. With this, we report to the state of Connecticut, not necessarily, I didn't show DIRG in this, and we just looked at Connecticut. I think when we talk about APs, this is the one area that, I don't really think that DIRG plays that big of a role, because your AP kids are really your best of the best. And regardless of where you are DIRG-wise, your best of the best is pretty equivalent. So we looked holistically at the state of Connecticut in this, and you can see over a 5-year period, we have consistently outperformed the state of Connecticut in terms of the percentage of students earning a 3 or higher on AP exams. A very nice statistic, and proud of that performance in our AP levels. Also, when we had reported earlier in the school year the number of AP scholars that we have here at Pomperaug High School. And again, this is our current juniors and seniors that we have. As we look over time, in 2014, to tally a total of 72 students that had received recognition at the various levels, we do see an increase in improvement over the past 4 years of data that we have collected for this. And again, a stat that we're very, very proud of, and really shows to the high level that our students are electing to challenge themselves with, but also the high level to they're achieving within that, within those choices as well to challenge themselves. Again, we did present on this earlier, and in the report, I think we do have the explanation of what the various levels of scholarship are. But the National AP Scholar, again, the highest level, with AP Scholar with distinction being the next. So very impressive data from our AP students. As we look forward to this current year and what we could expect, I thought it might be interesting for you to see the number of students that we have enrolled in AP courses. This includes a small number of sophomores, primarily our juniors and seniors. So we currently have a total of 249 students that are enrolled in AP courses. We have 119 students that are enrolled in one AP course. We have 76 students that are enrolled in 2. We have 34 students that are enrolled in 3 AP courses. We have 15 students that are enrolled in 4 AP courses. We have 6 students that are enrolled in 5 AP courses. And we actually have 2 students that are currently enrolled in 6 AP courses. So again, we continue to be extremely competitive with our students in challenging themselves, and it also speaks to the level of support that our teachers offer, which was also mentioned in that NEASC report about the collaboration and the amount of support that is offered to students by our stakeholders throughout, that we have students comfortable enough to challenge themselves with multiple AP courses, and with a fairly large percentage taking 3 or more, which is very impressive. Next, we'd like to talk about our CAP testing. Again, this is a standardized test that is still issued by the state. This is taken in grade 10. The information that we have here comes from the Connecticut State reports, and this was also information that was provided by Mrs. Lyman and some research that she did as well. So I thank her for that. Here we are comparing our scores to our DIRG B. We're looking at the percent that we have at goal or above in this target area here. And again, you can see that in 2014, we are slightly outperforming where the DIRG is, and that remains consistent. At goal, we have consistently slightly outperformed where our DIRG comparison has been. When we look at the percent of students that we have at advanced, we are right on par with where our DIRGs are. Over the course of time, we fluctuated, where some years we have outperformed our DIRG, and in some years we've been just under. This year, in 2014, we're right there with where our DIRG average is for those students scoring at advanced or better on the CAP test. Okay. The next statistic that I'd like to talk to you about is our 4-year adjusted cohort. This is the percent of graduation rate that we have for students graduating within 4 years of entering into high school. This is taken from, the information here is taken from our strategic school profile, but it's defined by the state of Connecticut and the cohorts that they look at to calculate graduation rate. Very nicely, we've seen a progression in our graduation rate. The current information for 2014 is embargoed right now. But we do expect to see that steady increase in climb as we get that data and are able to release it. We have seen an increase over the past 4 years, and are expect that to be the same when the embargo data is released for the 2014 data. When we look beyond Pomperaug High School and what our students are doing, we are proud that we have over 90% of our students that are choosing to go on and pursue further education, whether it be at a 4-year college, a two-year college, or a technical or other school. We're looking at about 5.9% right now that are choosing to enter into employment, with about 1.9% that is going into military. Again, over the course of the past 5 years, we've seen a steady rate of just over 90% of our students choosing to go on and pursue further education at either that 4-year, 2-year, or technical level of schools. This data was also compiled from a Naviance student self-report. This is a survey that our senior students take as an exit survey each May. Okay. Of those students that are moving on to those 2 and those 4-year colleges, we have defined for us by Barron's, which is a Profiles of American Colleges. They define the universities as most competitive, highly competitive, very competitive, competitive, less or non-competitive, and special, which would be your arts, your medical colleges as well. And in this information, in this data, you can see where our students are attending, and that we do have a number of our students, as they move on to those 2-year and 4-year colleges, are going to mostly between those most competitive and very competitive schools. We have the largest percentage of our students attending. So not only are they moving on to schools, but they are moving on to very competitive colleges and universities, which is preparing them well for opportunities in the workforce. Okay. Next piece of information comes from our Words and Numbers report. And this looks at our data for students that are in college in their freshman year of college and how they are performing. Region 15, again, is doing something that we should be very proud of. Our school system is producing a high-quality product for any college or university. The investment that parents and taxpayers are making have made the secondary school system in Region 15 provides more than a satisfactory return on our investment. And we look at how our students are actually performing comparative to other schools. We see that our PHS graduates attending 4-year colleges have earned an average of a 3.1 to a 3.2 GPA at the end of their freshman year in college in each of the 5 years in which the study was done. So this was the class of 2008 through the class of 2012. And this information came to us in a report in April of 2014. So this is the most recent data and information that we have on our graduates. And when you think about that 3.1 to 3.2 and how that compares to other schools, and looking out at the college freshman class from the spring of 2013, you can see a comparison of how our students perform comparative to other students from schools within a college or university. So at our most competitive schools, our students have performed at an average of a 3.49 GPA, whereas when we look at the mean of spring 2013 GPAs from a college, that average was 3.29. At the highly competitive, again, Pomperaug outperformed at a 3.13 comparative to a 3.14. At the very competitive level, again, we outperformed at a 3.19 to a 3.09, and at that competitive level, outperformed at a 3.08 to a 2.83. So as our students move on to these competitive levels of schools, we are continually outperforming over the past 5 years our counterparts, which again is very impressive. As we went through and created this, we wanted to ensure that we were able to give to you the sources and the resources that we've used to cite the information. So the resources page that you have there defines for you where all the information for each of these reports were taken from. This is information that, again, for the Naviance reports are things that we do ourselves and surveys that we take ourselves when we populate. All the rest of the information that we provide to you here is verified through either College Board reports, national reports, or state reports. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Yes, I have
Okay.
a few questions. Mr. Longarini, thank you for the report. It shows our schools are doing well, which is something we all like to see. But if we look at this somewhat on the glass is half full or half empty, I'm beginning to look just a bit on the half-empty side. In reading, in writing, we're down from 2010. And my question is, what are we going to do to try and get our scores up to our DERG levels? Because we are down, not quite a bit, but we are down from where we were in 2010. And also, math seems like we're doing the right thing because we're keeping our numbers high.
Right.
But I am concerned about the writing and the reading, and even last year we had the same issue. What do we need to do to get those scores up? Any ideas, suggestions, thoughts?
Yes, we do, Mr. Babrick. With the reading and writing, this is an area that we've talked with Mr. Lumen as well as our departments as well, and a place that with that conference time that we have allocated to our English teachers, that we really see we can be impactful and make a change in how we are providing feedback and information back to students. Some of the other things that we've begun the process with, again, in looking at our school-wide rubrics and looking at things like communication and taking writing into account, taking reading for information into account, and how we use that, where we are setting those shorter-term goals with students as well, reviewing that process as we move forward. So I do think that through the process of that individualized contact of teachers with students and looking at where each student's progress and performance is right now, and trying to move students on a continuum or rubric forward where they can see where their strengths and weaknesses are, is going to be an integral part of improving that performance. As we look forward also at scheduling at the high school and looking at ways that we can provide opportunity and time for teachers to get greater in-depth in lessons as well and get to a deeper level of knowledge with students, I believe will have a positive impact on that structure also. So those are the two most immediate things that we're looking at as we go through this year and enter into next year to have a positive impact on those, as well as providing teachers with the support that they need to increase their toolkit in terms of reading and writing strategies.
So we would hope to see an improvement then in reading and writing on the next report.
We hope to see that improvement, but it might be 2 years. But because we're implementing this year, and a lot of the next reports will come out of what we have from our current seniors right now. And at this time, most of those kids have taken those tests. Usually, our seniors are usually done taking SATs by the fall because all of their college applications and things are in. So this data looks at cohort data of the graduating class. So the graduating class of 2015, a lot of that is based off of the SATs that they've taken now. I'm really interested to see where our junior class falls. So I'm really looking at that 2016 data to be the best indicator.
I have only one other question on the PHS post-graduation plans.
Okay.
It seems like more than ever, 2010 anyway, our students, 5.9% went into employment, 1.9% went into military, versus a 2.7 and a 0.6. Seems like that's a large number. Any idea what's going on, why more of our students are going directly into employment or into the military than in prior years?
I don't have an answer for that right now. I think that, potentially if we, maybe if we look back and we kind of look at the culture and the environment that the kids have grown up in, there may be something that is more of a sense of a call to service, if you will, than maybe prior cohorts did have. But it's not something that I've really dig too deep into right now to see what that is. There, another piece that could be there might be the financial aspect of it. Students that do go into the service and do go through ROTC, it is an element there that a portion or all of their education can be paid for through that as well. So it could be a combination of things.
Sure. That's on the military side.
Yeah.
On the unemployment side, do you think the economy has anything to do with the large quantity of our children going to 5.9%, going directly into employment?
I do, and I think you also see you know, as you look, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that two-year college number increase a little bit as well, because, you know, again, when we look at economic times and look at where we are, yeah, I think more kids are supporting what that next step is going to be by themselves, and you know, sometimes that two-year college or that employment is a step that they choose to take until they truly know what it is that they want to engage in and do.
Well, I think overall I can be proud of the school.
Absolutely.
It's a good job.
Thank you, sir.
I just had a question, unless I'm reading it wrong. The SAT for reading went down, I mean, 542 to 535, although we don't know how meaningful that is. I mean,
I'm
I know
sorry, the SAT for reading?
for writing.
Oh, for writing.
Reading to me is 1 point, I think.
Right.
535 to 536, it actually, so I wasn't sure because he said reading and writing went down.
Yes. The writing went up.
Oh, over
one-
4 years, I'm sorry,
Right,
over 4 years,
Right,
okay,
right.
okay.
Mr. Longarini, again,
Yes,
thank you for the report. And I just wanted to, I guess, put it out there that there's a school of thought that Southbury, I think Middlebury, but I can only speak for Southbury, is almost barely a Derg B. When we first moved here, my family, 9 years ago, it was a C. So I think to be in Derg B, we're in good company with most of the affluent towns in Fairfield County, Simsbury, Avon, Glastonbury, even Greenwich. So I think to be in that company and to score almost as well or even better does show that you know, we're providing an above par education, but we're still sort of a good buy, I guess, in terms of housing and taxes. And I know a lot of people on the board might disagree with me on that. But when you were talking about the percent of AP exam takers and you mentioned not comparing it to Derg B, I know, or I would imagine that is a lot of work to sort of gather those numbers because they're probably not presented to you grouped by Derg. But don't underestimate the value of that comparison. I think is personally speaking, at least, I really do like those numbers to see them. And I thank you for putting them in the whole presentation, the Derg B numbers as well. Lots of times that's not in there, it's just the state average,
Right.
which you know, I would hope we always would be well above the state average. So I appreciate the work in gathering the Derg B numbers.
Okay. Thank you.
Glenn, a couple of comments. On the performance data report, if we could step back and widen the horizon. You have 9 resources producing a significant number of data, a significant set of data that concludes that we're doing somewhere between a superior and excellent job. There's no getting away with it. Over the last 5 years, we have a system that we can all be very proud of. We should be walking around with big smiles on our face. This is a great, great report. But we don't want to have it live in a vacuum, so we got to dovetail back to Kelly when she gave us the rundown of commendations. And the commendations were supported back and forth. They complement each other, the data, performance data, and the commendations. And the third piece was, as Kelly was reading, and as you were talking, I recall the April visit from the New England Association, 18 or 19 professionals that comprised the evaluation group. And I was very impressed with the range, depth, variety of school districts that they represent. So by every measurement, we are doing a very, very good job, and the people should be very proud. Now, the commendations are present tense. And it's cost us a significant amount of money to get it there. Now it's going to cost us money to keep it there. Add to that the 2-year report, which will be the Rubik and Janet coming in and reviewing the recommendations. So that's the other piece of standing back and looking forward. Now, I'm sure in the back of your mind, you're working on a system of checks and balances, of monies applied to make sure the programs that are working well and advance them, and the recommendations will join them. And the 2-year and the 5-year will be just as good as the report that you just gave us. So the reason I'm going on about this is to encourage you to look at all of the data all the time, not try to pick at 536 versus 541.
Right.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Brandon.
Are there any other questions?
Okay.
Glenn, I thank you very much. It was
Thank
an
you.
excellent,
Thank
two
you very
excellent
much.
presentations. And thank you to Kelly, if she's still here, but she's not. She's right over there. Okay. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Okay, ready to move on? We have approval of minutes. Could I have a motion to approve the minutes of the November 24th, 2014 regular meeting, please?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any additions, omissions, or corrections? Okay, there being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Unanimous. Okay, could I have a motion to approve the minutes of the November 24th, 2014 executive session?
Motion to approve.
Second? Any additions, omissions, or corrections? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Unanimous, Gretchen. Okay, information and proposals, Finance and Facilities Committee. Mr. Babrick, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our Finance and Facility meeting was held on Wednesday, December 17th. The report is approximately 4 weeks old since we did have a snow day last time. We missed a meeting. But on our budget meeting, the finance budget line items continue to be on track. We continue to watch line items, especially those that we are expecting state reimbursement for excess costs. Our current excess of $205,271 in the current budget will see a decrease due to the excess costs from the state. We currently have 2 new special needs students, which will add over $200,000 of expense to our current approved 2013-14 budget. Thanks to the early retirement plan last year and the ability to hire qualified teachers at lower than required teacher salaries, we were able to absorb the additional new special needs students. By law, we cannot exceed our approved budget. Special needs is always a difficult line to predict due to the in and out movement of the special needs students. We then followed in the program with a report called ALICE. That's an acronym. ALICE is an acronym that stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, Employed, comprising households with incomes above the poverty level but below the basic cost of living. The ALICE threshold is the average level of income that a household needs to afford the basics defined by the household survival budget for each county in Connecticut. The reason for this report being brought to the attention of the Finance Committee was to highlight the health of our communities, Southbury and Middlebury. According to the charts, Middlebury has a 20% ALICE and poverty rate, with Southbury experiencing a 31% ALICE and poverty rate. Why is this important? The budget time is approaching, and we need to be as well informed as to both educational needs as well as the ability for the communities to afford any educational budget increases. The next item we discussed was capital items. Our finance and facilities agenda also included a discussion regarding proposed capital projects. As discussed at our last BOE meeting, I had requested a preliminary review of those major facility expenses identified with the assistance of Mr. McLiverty. The preliminary draft consisted of RMS needing roof repairs in 3 areas, estimated cost approximately $200,000. Eliminate or seal up temporary portables, estimated cost unknown at this time. PHS, upgrade the turf and track field, estimated cost $1.2 million. Retubing of 3 boilers, replacing domestic hot water tanks, pool pumps, and the gym roof, which is 11 years old, estimated at $500,000. GES roof over the main office, estimated at $90,000 to repair. The roof over the stage area, estimated at $105,000. And the south wing asbestos abatement, estimated at $90,000. At the central office, we were looking at replacing main doors, estimated at $10,000. A final list with a total estimated expense value should be ready for our next Finance and Facilities meeting, which, by the way, is scheduled for Wednesday, tomorrow, in fact. We will continue to investigate the need to find ways to finance required capital projects. Using the capital budget does not appear to be the proper way to fund these projects. The current bond market and municipal lease are at a record low, and we need to study these rates a little further. Following our Finance and Facilities meeting, we went into our Technology Cost Center update. We did that on Wednesday evening on the 17th, and we held our Cost Center meeting. I'd like to thank Mrs. Botsford for taking the time to present at that meeting. The presentation focused on the financial requirements to upgrade existing network design and upgrade existing computers and introduce digital learning. The finance portion was helpful as a point of conversation regarding the possible implementation over time of various issues. One being the introduction of digital learning, a concept, if undertaken, will have considerable financial commitments. We continue to discuss the need to upgrade our existing technology infrastructure. To that end, I've requested that we have a detailed study of the existing hardware and software and what new hardware and software would be required to bring our infrastructure up to date. This study would also include costs to accomplish this task. Hopefully, this study can be accomplished during the January timeframe, and it appears to be on track at this time. A special Finance Facilities meeting will be held to discuss these issues. No official date has been set for this meeting as of this report. Madam Chair, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Paul?
I just wanted to, I did read the Alice report. I don't have it with me, and I'd be happy to bring it next week or at our next meeting and correct you, but I don't believe that report states that Middlebury has a 20% poverty rate and Southbury has a 30% poverty rate. I believe you're misquoting those charts. I don't have the study with me, but I'd be happy to bring it next time and make those corrections. Thank you.
In looking at the charts, certainly it did show Middlebury 20% Alice poverty rate, with Southbury experiencing a 31%, not 30. But I will review those charts again. We have our finance meeting tomorrow night, and I'd be glad to look at them again and look at those numbers.
Perhaps you clarify that by saying Alice and poverty. I'll check it out and make that clarification. Thank you.
Yeah, it wasn't just Alice, it was Alice and poverty.
Just a question. We had an email today of is the finance meeting is tomorrow as well? Is there a
Yes.
special, and is there a special meeting at 6? Is that tomorrow also, or is that?
5:30.
Okay. It's just a regular finance meeting tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Will there, you said that you wanted to have a subsequent detailed report of upgrading the infrastructure. I thought that December 17th presented a fairly detailed report of the current state, where we would like to get, and what we need to get us there. Will that be discussed at tomorrow's finance meeting?
You know, I'm hoping it will. I talked to Keith, and whether or not we'll have the final numbers in for tomorrow, I'm not sure. But the December 17th included all the items that we knew about that we had some estimated costs on, but it also included quite a few items that we have no costs on. And if Keith can have that together for us tomorrow, we will present that. Keith, do you think that'll be available tomorrow?
No,
Okay, that solves that issue. So we'll have to set up a special meeting for that.
Okay,
Thank you, Keith.
Thank you, Mr. Babrick, and thank you, Mr. McLivity.
Okay, any other questions of Mr. Babrick? Okay, we'll move on to P&C. Steve?
Thank you, Madam Chair. At the December 16th P&C meeting, it was voted to recommend a change in our course program here for AP Physics 1. That will be going to the full board for first presentation tonight. And to elaborate, to meet the College Board recommendations, the proposal is to replace the current honors physics course with AP Physics 1, and the plan will be to add AP Physics 2 as a new course in the next school year. The College Board is revising their advanced placement physics program. Schools are encouraged to offer both AP Physics 1 and AP Physics 2 as separate full-year courses. The rationale is to allow teachers the time needed to develop a deeper understanding of foundational physics principles. And so we are just, in a nutshell, reacting to the College Board's revised programs. Secondly, it was also voted to recommend a new course proposal called Dynamic Phys Ed to the full board, and that's up for first presentation tonight. This new course, to give it a summary, research suggests that early morning strenuous physical activity positively affects attention. This course is designed to provide students a daily workout of elevated intensity followed by a period of meditation and deep breathing. It was also voted to recommend a new course proposal, AP Macroeconomics, to the full board, and that is up for a first read tonight. This course is a college-level course designed to give students an introduction to the principles of the economic system as a whole. In addition to basic economic concepts, students will examine how economic performances are measured, the role of the financial sector, how national income and prices are determined, economic policies, and international trade. This course will allow students to strengthen their financial literacy skills and prepare to become informed decision makers in our society. And lastly, was also voted at that December meeting to recommend a new course, a new book, Krugman's Economics for AP, to the full board for, that's up tonight for the first presentation, and that book would be used for the new AP Macroeconomics course. We have 7 policies up for the second read tonight for votes, and just to Mr. Spierto had asked me earlier, so I'm just going to answer him now as to why we are dealing with FMLA in policy 4151, and the changes are in the policy are necessary to reflect the new legislative requirements that paraprofessionals be offered FMLA coverage. In addition, the policy has been amended to incorporate provisions from the release of the 2013 federal regulations regarding military caregiver leave. And for first read tonight, there are 3 policies that are in the packet, and one of them is policy 3160. Also brought to my attention by Mr. Spierto that that title is a bit, well, it's incorrect probably. So rather than change everything around, just as a matter of procedure to the board, when this is up for a second read, there will most likely be a motion to actually change that name of the policy to board budget procedures and line item transfers. We're not actually transferring board budget line items in that. That's not what that policy is dealing with. That is my report.
Any questions of Steve?
Mrs. Perry? Mrs. Perry, over here. Could I just add that I forgot to bring the economics textbook tonight, but I would just want to remind the board members that that textbook is available for review at central office until the time of the vote for the second read.
Any other comments? No? Oh. Other committee reports. Any report from PTO advisory?
No report.
Okay. Wellness committee, John's not here. Does anybody have his report?
The only update is that we will be having a formal wellness committee in the next couple of weeks. There has been some modifications to the menu. We're seeing an uptick in sales, so we're trying to balance the healthier items with sales. We're doing more promotion. The menus have changed, so they're a little more eye-catching. We're trying to limit the Fruit Loops and chocolate milk as a justifiable lunch. So we're trying to make some changes, and they're happening faster now. So every month, we're adding 2 new items to the agenda, or to the menu, and we're tracking the sales, and if they're successful, we keep them on. If they're not, we're changing them. We're working with Beth Rosen, who is, I think she's chair of the PTO, but she's also a nutritionist by trade, and she's been a very valuable asset to making this change and moving in the right direction.
Thank you, Keith. Sure.
I just wanted to add how, as a parent, I get to see a lot of these menus and these new menu items, and to hear how my kids are excited to have like the roast turkey dinner that you guys have implemented. And I just wanted to express my gratitude and appreciation for all the hard work that you have done, along with Ms. Rosen and other members who have helped out. It's been a very exciting change, and I'm glad to hear that the sales are increasing.
Okay, moving on to board member comments.
Boy, I'm very chatty tonight. I just wanted to say, I know Steve covered a lot of this in his report, but over the last 2 policy and curriculum committee meetings, we've seen some really exciting new courses being recommended, the AP Physics 1, the Dynamic PE, the AP Macroeconomics, and then tonight, Programming for Game Design and Pre-Engineering. And the faculty and the administrators that presented this, it just shows like the forward thinking and the collaboration. And when you give faculty, time to talk amongst themselves and be creative and kind of forward thinking for what are the careers coming up, what do our students need, they're really putting forward some great opportunities for our students. So I just wanted to say that publicly, because I thought, we get to see kind of the real details of why it's important, and the work that they put into the proposals is really substantial. And it was just very impressive over the last couple of meetings to see these new ideas being generated and the support from the board. So it's very exciting. I just want to say that publicly to the teachers and faculty in the region and administrators. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to take the liberty to make a comment before I go to my fellow board members. I don't know if you're aware of it, but this is Mr. Fran Brennan's last Board of Education meeting. He has sent us his letter of resignation. He's had an opportunity, has the opportunity to move forward in his professional career, which he has decided will take up too much of his time. And because he's been so dedicated to this board, he can't give the Board of Education the time that it deserves. I would like to thank Fran for your 3 years of service. There has never been a time when you have not answered my request for advice. You have been somewhat of a mentor to me. I've always looked to you. I respect you. You are going to be very much missed. Your shoes will be tough to fill. And I wish you luck in your new endeavors. And take care of your lovely wife. Okay. On behalf of the board, Fran, I wish we could give you a $5,000 gift certificate to the local dry cleaner, because you are probably the best dressed board member we have ever had. You are meticulous, but we have a small token. Oh, okay. That would be good too. But this is certainly a small token, and I promise to buy you lunch. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other comments now from board members?
I think I'd like to make a comment regarding Mr. Brennan, since he's part of our Middlebury team. We're really, really going to miss him. His wit and his ability to bring us together has helped us many, many times. We've had some small caucuses where one of us was at one end of the spectrum and the other at the other end of the spectrum. And Fran just had a habit of bringing us to the middle and getting us back together and understanding the issues. So we're really going to miss him a lot. And the one thing I remember about Fran and his Irish wit, the one thing that he had told me at one time, and I repeat it all the time, maybe nobody will think much of it, but Fran used to say, you know, he says, I could keep a secret. He said, but it's the people I tell that I can't trust. And I always remember that, and I think it was just quite valuable, and I use that. So when I tell people a secret, I tell them it's you I can't trust. But Fran, it's been a pleasure, and we're going to miss you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Hi, Fran. I too want to thank you for being part of the Region 15 team. While I've never had the opportunity to caucus with you, I will say that we've differed. You know, we've differed on many things, but I feel like I've always been able to have an honest and an intellectual conversation with you, and I have very much valued you as a member of the Region 15 team. And I've just learned a lot from you, and I'll certainly miss your presence here. I think you added certainly a depth of knowledge of education, and I think I speak with everyone when I say you certainly spoke your mind, and it was always interesting and thoughtful and articulated very well. So I'll miss you. Thank you for being part of the team.
I'm just glad you finally found a job. Stop freeloading.
Fran, I have had the privilege of working with you, working for you as a board member for only the past year and a half. I have also had the distinct pleasure of getting to know you as a person. You are thoughtful, articulate, dedicated, and you are the consummate professional educator. Your contributions to the Board of Education on behalf of our students will be sorely missed, and I wish you the very best of luck, and I send you all good wishes as you assume these additional responsibilities at UConn. They are very, very fortunate.
Thank you very much.
Okay, are there any other board member comments? Okay, we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
I thought it might be appropriate for me to give a little update on, no, not on the weather, but on calendar and on snow days. As you are all aware, we have had 4 snow days so far. I certainly, as a parent myself, understand that changes in a school calendar create a lot of inconveniences for families, especially when weather-related. They often come at the last minute. I also know and believe, and I'm dedicated to the fact that the best place for our students is in their classrooms on regularly scheduled school days. That's what we all want. That said, there is one and only one reason for delaying or canceling school, and that reason is student safety. So when I make a decision to delay or cancel school, I do so based on the best available information that's available at the time. The decision is typically made between 5 and 5:30 in the morning. I begin working on it at about 3:45. And I make the decision after consulting with other area superintendents, a meteorologist, the local police, and our facilities staff as well. So this past week, we had 2 incidents of very unfortunately timed weather. Both of them occurred during the morning commute. And one of the things that may be difficult to understand is that in order for us to run safe bus transportation to school, we actually need a 3-hour window of a safe period of time to transport students. So for a regular opening, that would run from about 6:15 to about 9 o'clock. For a delayed opening, that runs from about 7:45, 7:30, 7:45 to 10:30. And what happened in these last 2 weather events was that we had storms that really occurred from 6 or 7 in the morning through at least 10 o'clock or even later, which really obliterated any possibility that we could get the students in safely for either an on-time opening or a delayed opening. So I just thought that might be helpful to understand. The good news is that, of course, we do plan for weather events in our calendar, and the calendar is constructed in such a way that we have room at the end of the calendar to add on up to 10 additional days to make up for snow days. Should we need any more than that, and this is stated on the calendar on the district website, we then go to spring break. And we begin using the days of spring break, starting with Monday and moving toward Friday. So the current state of affairs is that our last day of school is June 12th, okay? And if we have to use any more snow days or weather days, that day will be extended, and it is regularly updated on the website. And I hope you will all join me in doing a good weather chant from now through, let's say, the end of March. So, thank you.
Thank you. Is one more?
I just forgot to mention that you have the personnel report, too.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, comments from citizens. The Board of Education will recognize citizens of Middlebury and Southbury, and citizens are asked to state their name, the town they represent, and are limited to 3 minutes and no more. Any questions? Comments?
Good evening. My name is Stephen Savarese. I'm a resident of the town of Middlebury. I come here tonight to speak to a local event that is happening, which I think involves our local Board of Education. I'm, for 20 years, have been a parent of students of the region. I have graduated my youngest child this past year from PHS, and she's on to college. But I come here tonight to refer to the fact that I am working on a project on behalf of the town of Middlebury to address the Connecticut Siting Council's reopening of the siting of the power plant that is in the north end of Oxford. They are conducting a public hearing on that event this coming Thursday at the Oxford High School. And I believe it is of great interest to the citizens of the town of Middlebury and Southbury. In particular, this power plant is located in such a way, just to the east of the Oxford Airport, 523 feet to the south of the Middlebury town line, to make it within just over 2 miles from this site here, the Pomperaug High School. And that would also therefore encompass Long Meadow Elementary School, a slightly longer distance to get to Middlebury Elementary School. But this plant, if built, will be the second largest power plant in the state of Connecticut, second only to the nuclear plant that is on the coastline. It is projected to be a 805 megawatt plant. That is, to give you a perspective on the size of that, they're advertising this to be able to fuel the electric needs of 750,000 homes, which is 1/2 the entire housing stock of the state of Connecticut. So one power plant in Oxford has the capacity to satisfy the electric needs of half the state of Connecticut. It is our contention that it is not needed. It is superfluous to the needs that are currently being satisfied and have been projected by the grid operator, the ISO New England, and our state of Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, that the projected capacity for the state of Connecticut's current generators would carry us through the year 2024. So our concern is that this is going to be a pollution machine, that from two 150-foot stacks that have a diameter at the opening of 22 feet, that's 2 basketball that is one big exhaust manifold, and it is intended to
Sir, excuse me. I'll give you 30 more seconds,
All right.
and then I'm going to have to cut
again,
you off.
I'm inviting the public to participate in the open house or at the Oxford High School that begins tomorrow or Wednesday, 61 Quaker Farm Road, Oxford. Thank you. Thursday. The public will be heard at 6:30 p.m. There's a 1:30 walk of the site, and there will be balloons flying to show the height of those stacks. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments?
Hello, I'm Lorraine Consiglio, and I have had 2 sons graduate from Pompey High School and are doing very well now, as well as I have a son here at Pompey High School. I would like to echo the concern of the gentleman before me, for a number of reasons he stated, but in addition to the concern I have for the athletes that will be playing on the playing fields of Pompey High School. Both my sons played baseball. I have the third will be playing baseball as well as playing football. So I'm concerned about the exhaust of this energy center, and I would just like to know if, I don't know how the results will transpire, but keep in mind that there are other plants of the 800 plus megawatt size that those communities failed to put in place the monitoring devices in order to get the accurate measurement of what the environment was like prior to the addition of the plant. So I think it would be something to behoove the board to think about what kind of monitoring we should have in place now, keeping in mind that what might happen down the road. So that's my comment.
Thank you for your comments. Are there any more comments? Okay, there being none, we'll move on. We have no old business. We have new business requiring action. I need a motion to approve policy number 1331.
Motion to approve?
Want to read it?
Oh, you want me to read
Yeah,
it?
please.
Sorry, I put all my papers
Here.
together. Thank you. Where are you? Thank you. Move that somebody have these on? Oh, can you turn these on? Move that the Board of Education, upon recommendation by the Policy and Curriculum Committee, approves the update to policy number 1331, tobacco use as presented.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor? Or any discussion? Any discussion? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? Unanimous. We need a motion to approve policy number 4116.5.
Move that the Board of Education, upon recommendation by the Policy and Curriculum Committee, approves the update to policy number 4116.5, restraint and seclusion of persons at risk. Update as presented.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Abstentions? Unanimous. Need a motion to approve policy number 4151.
Move that the Board of Education, upon recommendation by PNC, approves update to policy 4151, family medical leave as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Unanimous. Okay, where are we at now? Need a motion to approve policy number 5113.2. I'm sorry. Well, we'll do that. Yeah, I'll go back.
Move that the Board of Education, upon recommendation by the Policy and Curriculum Committee, approves the update to policy number 5113.2, attendance and truancy as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Unanimous. I'll go back to number 4, approval of policy number 4235.
Move that the Board of Education, upon recommendation by Policy and Curriculum Committee, approves the policy number 4235, alcohol, tobacco, and drug-free workplace as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Unanimous. Approval of policy number 5145.
Move that the Board of Education, upon recommendation by the Policy and Curriculum Committee, approve the update to 5145, administration of student medication in the schools as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Unanimous. Okay, approval of policy number 6145.
Move that the Board of Education, upon recommendation by PNC, approves the update to policy number 6145, curricular exemptions as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those, any opposed? Abstentions? Unanimous. Okay, we got that done. Before I announce the, well, let me do this first. Okay, the next future meeting dates, Wednesday, January 14th, which is tomorrow night, Finance and Facilities Committee at Central Office at 5:30. And Monday, God be willing, we'll have our Board of Education meeting on January 26th in this room, number 103 at 7:30. And before I adjourn, Fran Brennan said he would like to make a few statements to the board.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've never really missed an opportunity to make a speech in my life, and I'm not going to let this one go, but I'll bring it in under a minute. Take note, Steve. I was thinking about, what to say. And what I want to say is, I want to ask myself a question. What do boards of education do? And that gives me the opportunity to answer my own question, and that'll be a hallmark minute. What do boards of education do? Well, first of all, we work in the nation's great places of innovation and invention. We also work and we celebrate 240 years of American creativity. And we also make great things happen, and sometimes we do it by correcting our own mistakes. Oftentimes, we turn aside wisely the calculations of bureaucratic doomsdayers because we also work and make possible the place of great dream makers and their classrooms, where student, parent, teacher dynamics make future dreams possible. That's what boards of education do. Thank you. Done.
Thank you, Fran. I will miss you. And on that note, could I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Fran. Do I have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Good night.